Good afternoon, dearest participants to the forum, dear guests, dear colleagues. Welcome to the roundtable. Good afternoon, distinguished colleagues and the participants to the forum that we hold on an annual basis. Welcome to those who contribute to Kazakhstan Annual Forum. Allow me please to greet you. And the topic of the roundtable is presentation of the first domestic digital model for oil and gas sector. It could be expressed much shorter, from barrels to byte, so from natural resources to intellectual resources. So everybody knows that the digitalization agenda is something that has penetrated all of the sectors of the economy. And actually, in fact, we're not going to be talking about exploration and production at the moment, but we will talk to you about focusing and being able to actually give us the prospects in terms of the future. So actually, barrel isn't imagined without artificial intelligence supports, and likewise, so our objective is to put together the physical world and the virtual world. So our intention actually is to discuss EXia and the way it could become a bridge between the global expertise and domestic policy and the new digital standards. Allow me please to introduce the speakers to today's roundtable. I would like to start with Mr. Karabalin, who is Deputy Chairman of Kazakhstan Association. He is the member of the BOD of Kazmunagas National Oil and Gas Company. He is the chairman of the Scientific Council in oil and gas sector, and he is a well-known, prominent expert in oil and gas company. He used to be the Minister of Energy before, the chairman of the management board of Kazakhstan. And thank you so much, as a Ilyich, for making it here today and for taking our invitation to contribute to this roundtable. We also do have Chairman of the National Geological Survey, Mr. Irlan Galiyev, so welcome. And he is we have Mr. Akjol Ospanov, Managing Director, Situational Analytical Center of the Fuel and Energy Complex of the Republic of Kazakhstan. And we also have our guests, Vice President and Chief of Survey Department for Eurasia, our long-standing friend, Mr. Matthew Sagers. So welcome, and we are pleased to welcome you. And we also do have our partner from international analytical company, Rise Start, Olga Savinkova. And we also do have senior partner of Energy Insights and Analytics, Alikhan. And I'm going to be the moderator of today's roundtable. So actually, before we start the discussion, I would like to give the floor to General Director of Energy Insights and Analytics, who is going to be introducing our analytical center to you, ladies and gentlemen. And he's going to give you a brief in regards to the idea and the major objectives for the center. And this is actually the introduction of the new player to the energy sector in Kazakhstan. So the floor is yours. Thank you, Alihan. So, good afternoon, dearest participants to the roundtable. Welcome to the presentation of EXia. So before I start my speech, I would like to introduce and show us a small video footage in regards to EXia. Please enjoy.
Да, можно включить, да, коллеги?
В движении, между встречами, решения не ждут. Нужна мгновенная информация.
You got to make an instant decision before you go into the meeting. So Energy Insights and Analytics is an individual package solution for you. Data has been collected, the priorities are clear, nothing is obsolete, just pure forecasts and figures. You may use your time for strategy. Going back to insights and actual data for analysts, there's a menu for trends and forecasts. For managers, we have figures and forecasts. For companies, we give opportunities to invest. EXia has been developed in order to tackle energy issues. The platform's collecting the information from different sources and converts them into analytical models and forecasts. So this enables you to take the decisions promptly. This is more than analytics. This is a strategic compass and insurance of IT sovereignty of the country. This is a platform that sets the energy of the future.
Рахмет.
Thank you so much. So actually, as a tech company, we used AI in this shooting, so following the trends. So could I please have my presentation on the screen?
Можно следующий слайд?
Could I have the next slide, please? The clicker is off. I would like to start my presentation with the union address of the President of Kazakhstan that he had during the most recent national Kurultai while he was talking about the IT sovereignty of Kazakhstan and the need to have analytical centers able to provide intellectual customized products. And 2023 became the signature year. Back in September of that year, we have launched an initiative of having a digital center under the auspices of Kazanergy. And in order to expand this product in 2024, Upstream has joined this initiative. We are a local company, a tech partner for Kazanergy, and Kazanergy acts as a strategic partner. So back in 2024, we have established the company called Energy Insights and Analytics. This is the company that keeps working on the project. And you could see the brief information in regards to the session that was held back in August of 2024, chaired by Prime Minister of the Republic of Kazakhstan. And EXia under Kazakhstan was identified as a fintech, enabling to ensure attractiveness for exploration and production and share in oil and gas sector. So actually talking about the project, so we deal with analytics in oil and gas. We also have the analytics of another nature, but we also use the data on human capital and petroleum services and technology. So our objective actually is to have the unified database comprised of data provided for both national companies and private players, and this is going to be fit for potential investors who would like to assess for the chances of their contribution into oil deposits and so on. And we would like to become the sole platform providing opportunities for oil and gas actors, and our intention actually is to go beyond the Caspian region to the global arena. So this is a brief review of the data that we possess. We have data on human resources, oil and gas, both exploration and production, and this is something that we are able to visualize. We do have the stand in the exhibition hall, so if you're interested, please, you're welcome to. In regards to analytics, we have descriptive analysis. This gives you the brief in regards to what's going on in the sector and in companies. So we have 50 companies in our perimeters, so those who produce up to 97% of oil and gas in Kazakhstan. So there's an entire set of data in regards to those 50 companies. So you could use it for geological purposes, and so that you are able to understand the pros and cons and the overall tendencies typical for oil and gas sector. And you are able to actually have the prospects and analytics in regards to what's to do next. So we have experienced team comprised of subject matter experts who have an extensive experience working in oil and gas. And actually, it's worth it to mention about the mobile app, which we have developed for market B2C. It's not the full data that we have in possession, but it has some data history for the most recent 5 years, and actually you have an access to news, the mapping option, and so on, the breakdown into the deposits. And we would like to make a presentation of the energy outlook. This is the second time. This is a totally petroleum edition, so it is comprised of analytics for oil and gas sector of Kazakhstan. You can get expanded to key milestones available in 3 languages: English, Russian, and Kazakh. So this is a result of teamwork. We have collected the data that became available in 2025. And I would like to welcome our partners, SNB Global. We also do have the MOU with that organization, and we contribute to joint service. We used to be having the articles in regards to OPEC, and this is something that we use in our materials, as well as S&P Global uses those extracts in their work. So actually S&P Global contributes to the National Energy Review, and we cooperate as a standalone partner of this institution. So actually that's all that I wanted to brief you about. You could use the links in order to get familiar about our work. So I would like to thank National Geological Center, who have signed the MOU on digitalization. And this has to do with the historic data in oil and gas sector. So we would like to establish the similar platform in mining and have it digitalized as well as we did in regards to oil and gas. So knock on the wood, we hope that this is going to become a reality. Thank you so much. Yes, indeed. This was a pretty short presentation of the center that is hosting today's roundtable. So let me take this chance to introduce the prominent expert who set standard for oil and gas sector. Uzakbay Selimenovich Karabalin, the floor is yours, please. Dearest colleagues, I would like to welcome all of the participants to today's roundtable. And we have gathered together not accidentally, because energy is going through in-depth transformation, both in technology, market, climate, and in these conditions, it's important not only to follow your intuition and the current expertise, but also precise data and professional analysis. Attempts to put together the unified analytical oil and gas platform was something that we have experienced, and in my memory there were 3 attempts of that nature of a very serious caliber, but unfortunately they failed. And as our practice demonstrates, it's very complex to put together the subject matter experts, big data, modern technologies, and have the unified standards for analyzing the market. You know, when we started those digital initiatives, we didn't have the technologies that we have at the moment to include of digital nature. So those attempts, as I have said, unfortunately were the attempts in vain. So we are glad to have the Kaz Energy Initiative turning out to be a success. I was exposed to EXia platform earlier while we had the meeting of Scientific Council of Kaz Energy Association. And at the moment, we deal with a mature and functional product, enabling us to make the decisions at all the levels, merging from the company to the public institutions. And I think that this tendency, the trend, is something that penetrates not only on the oil and gas sector, but also as a red line for all of the presentations we had today, is something that everybody acknowledges that we have started the new era, the era of digitalization, the era of technology, and therefore it is a high time for us to have analytics covering a vast volume of data. This is something that enables us to have certain tangible outcomes that would need us to have immense efforts taken. We would need to spend much time in order to have more or less satisfactory analytics. So systems such EXia gives us a chance to lift ourselves up to the at the edge opportunities, and I'm so happy for our colleagues to have this review of the work that they have completed so far, and it could be actually promptly distributed throughout the perimeter of oil and gas sector in Kazakhstan. Actually, Kazakhstan is known for the economy established on natural resources and fossil fuel, and we will now have this very functional tool. So we have gathered the representatives of the leading international agencies, national institutions, National Geological Service, as it was mentioned before, the representatives of the Ministry of Energy, Energy Insights and Analytics. So the union of both national and international expertise makes this conversation valuable. We could exchange our experience and practical models in regards to how the digital management systems for oil and gas sector could look like. And our colleagues will have you exposed to that system in more details. I would like to wish all of us to have productive discussion. And I think that this is just the very start of the discussion, and we will have more chances to have a chance to have consensus and reach the objectives that were set by our colleagues. In fact, those were, the self-assignment that our colleagues took. However, let's use the chance, and I wish you all the best and success. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Uzurpay Suleymanovich, for your vision and for the strategic context. And yes, you were indeed right saying that the digitalization in the energy sector is not an experiment. This is a necessity, and actually it is inevitable to imagine the future of oil and gas sector without digital solutions. So therefore we have invited our colleagues from international organizations, and we have invited our friend and partner, Mr. Matthew Sagers, and we have a long-standing history of partnership. And I would like to give the floor to you, sir, so that you could respond to the next question, if you allow me to.
And how does S&P Global Commodity Insights build cooperation with them?
First, I thought about there's many different types of data and analytical centers, usually built for a variety of different purposes. Usually the goal is to allow people to assess information so that they can understand what's going on, to build a benchmark, a baseline, and then do some monitoring. And then once you've established that, then you can basically, how does this work? And the goal is to promote decision-making and policy-making. Some institutions, cooperation is built right in their very core. An example would be the IEA. It was established as a result of the oil crisis in the 1970s by the OECD countries to basically understand how energy was consumed. At that time, there was a lot of people that knew a lot about production of energy and how it moved, but not very much in terms of consumption. How did it move? Where was it stored? How much did we store? What were the intensities and so forth? So these were the kinds of goals when the IEA was established, and it was explicitly meant to cooperate among the group. OPEC would be another example where you have an organization. First, it has to gather data. Who produces, how much, and when. Once we have a baseline, then we think about what our policy should be. Do we need to cut production? Do we need to expand production? Who is in compliance? Who is not in compliance? And in all cases, like I said, the goal is to provide understanding. In some cases, the goal is not to cooperate. Some cases, I don't want anybody to know what I'm doing outside my organization. So some it's not built into their DNA, and others it's very much a part of it. Whether we're talking about, for example, the IEA or IRENA is another one where it's built right in. Commercial centers like what we are represent, cooperation is not inbuilt. Our strategy is to basically provide information and analytics to the clients that basically pay you, and you don't necessarily want to have your information and so forth spread abroad. But on the other hand, many of these places are a source of information. You need to basically monitor what they're doing, look at what they're going on and so forth. So there's always a certain element of cooperation and collaboration. Some it's explicit, others it's a little bit more reluctant. But I would say that all of them have the same goal, which is provide information for decision-making and policy. And of course, the other thing, the step that we haven't talked about, which Daniel made reference to, if you're going to basically make the effort of collecting the data and using it as a baseline, you better make sure that it's accurate. So therefore, there's a whole bunch of processes after you collect it to vet it and make sure that it's correct. Because the worst thing would be to make decisions upon very, very bad data. So there's a lot of effort that goes into it. It ends up being very important, and therefore it's valued because it has such a big impact on decision-making and the manner in which things operate.
Thank you. Thank you much for your such sorrowful answer and even advices for us how to run our business. I mean activities. And
I just want to add
yep.
the comment your question. So, yeah, the data set is an industrial problem, I would say, for Kazakhstan. It's not only like one or two company, and the quality of data also is the main problem. And I think we need to work on international standards as we use it at global companies, as the OSDU platform, for example, Open Subsurface Data Universe. It's for subsurface data, and other international standards to overall standardize our data set and collect and build it. So yeah, but it was a good comment. Yeah, thank you.
I didn't even get that far, which is, okay, you've got data. How do you determine whether it's up to snuff? And one of the ways that you do that is by looking at international standards. What other people have done, what is it that is expected? Good.
Yeah, the main thing is curation of the data. So you have a certain amount of data, but you need to have proper information, extract the proper information. First thing, even not about digitalization, I think in the industry we have a scanned copy of the historical data. So we need to turn it into digital part, then to have a value from this data set. And I mean, in terms of the storage and the future extraction of the data, we need to follow international standards, I would say. And this is a point where the global companies use, like Exxon or Saudi Aramco. So we should have the single standard for using the data and extracting the value from this data set. Yep.
And my next question to you is like your indices and models are recognized as a global benchmark. And could you please share your perspective on how the logic of decision making is evolving in the era of artificial intelligence?
Yeah, you're talking to the wrong person. I have watched sort of what's been happening with AI and whatnot. We've seen the enormous exuberance that has been expressed about all of the things that AI can do and how it will work and so forth. And my words are, curb your enthusiasm. There's a lot of work to be done before it's going to be ready. And even when you think about something very simple like curating data, AI can help, but it can't be the only thing. So the idea that we can basically use AI to make real-world decisions, I don't think that we're there yet in terms of getting there. For example, we've heard lots of stories about traders, for example. Traders know from experience, this is going up, that's going up, this is moving together, I should be doing this. So the idea is that you basically automate that. You bring in a thing. It could quickly and easily get out of hand because they're reading the wrong things or the trends are too. So you do want to always have a human agent that's overlooking this. And so, like I said, at the moment, AI, it's, in its very early stages, it's evolving very rapidly. But at the same time, I'm not ready to turn over my car keys to it yet.
So should we so we shouldn't be worried about that AI will replace us in the near future? Or should we?
This is just a week ago. I was hearing from one of our senior people, and he was articulating his vision of the analyst of the future, because we're a company of analysts, and we produce a lot of reports and everything. And we have a number of these centralized platforms that are coming out. And this person described the analyst of the future, where they would be at the terminal, and they would basically verbally say, I want to produce a report on X. Inflation in the UK in the past quarter. I've done this report before. I want it to look like that. Please tell me if there's anything that's different. Pull the data up. Please write it for me, and let me have it within the next 10 minutes. And I thought, that is a vision of the future that doesn't sound very appealing to me at all. But the question is whether that can actually be executed. But this was a vision of someone in the future. And again, will we eventually be there? Probably not. But on the other hand, let's say that 90% of it might very well be achieved. So I've heard everything from AI is going to basically make 90% of us redundant within the next 10 years, to the fact that AI is going to be so common, it's going to be a tool that is going to be used so readily that the technology, the tech, will basically go into the background, and what's really going to matter is the human element, the human content, and the human knowledge about what's going on. So two very different visions of what AI is going to be in the future. So I end up being, as long as they're fairly far apart, it means that it's time to curb your enthusiasm.
Okay, that sounds quite promising for us. Thank you, Matt, and let me move forward to next guest from Restart Energy. Ольга, welcome. Как уже действительно.
So, as it was said before by Daniel, we do have some history of partnering with Eurostat, and actually we did have a privilege of having two co-branding surveys, and we contributed to a number of articles. So, Olga, the next question is for you. So, in Europe, there's much attention paid to carbon neutrality in the energy sector, and in the United States, the policy has changed a bit. However, as far as I'm concerned, the European Union is intended to move forward the carbon neutrality and ESG agenda. So in this regard, I'm interested in your position in regards to sustainable energy based on analytical data. So do we have to analyze ad hoc data, or do we have to look at it retrospectively? Thank you so much for your invitation to contribute to this roundtable. I'm very pleased to speak in Russian in business environment. I'd like to seek for your apologies because I don't make presentations often in Russian. So in order to respond to this question, let me tell you a short story about Restart coming to the model that of data that we represent at the moment. And actually it started off from responding to proposals in regards to oil and gas. And up to the certain level, that was the major focus. We collected data on 85,000 oil and gas projects, and we put it all together into the huge table, and that was the major product that we provided to our clients. And the next step forward became analytical products, such as reports, comments, and consulting projects. And the next step forward became expanding to other energy sectors when we signed the parties signed the Paris Agreement, and it became clear that the horizon needs to go beyond, and we need to look at the hydrogen, carbon capture, and other aspects that become an integral part of energy sector. And we need to have data in order to understand where to go to, and the next focus, because of the market crisis after COVID, was something that we added, which was the energy demand analysis. We would not only look at the global demand, but also we provided a breakdown per sectors. So during COVID, it became evident that this is a driver that contributes to balancing the market. So we looked precisely at the sectors that drive the demand. So we could go in depth up to information in regards to how many vehicles have passed a given road, for instance, and we could monitor it through Google Maps and other sources of data that we use actively. And this was something that we completed. So therefore we cover all of the sectors from the demand standpoint as well. And the next step was for us to understand how this looks like from different countries and regions' perspective. Again, going back to the issue, how do we balance the energy sector in different parts of the world? So in order to understand what balance we need to ensure, it was not enough just to look at the global demand and proposal. And we have an energy dilemma that became a dilemma at a certain point of time when we analyze such aspects as safety, sustainability, and efficiency of hydrocarbons. So actually, and how this impacts upon the energy system. It's not a trilemma, but sort of a pyramid. And at the base of the pyramid, we had the sustainability of the system. Then we have accessibility. And on the top of the pyramid, what we have is sustainability. So actually, they're all at the different levels of development. So actually, that became evident during the crisis that we used to be having during invasion of Ukraine by Russia. When there was an energy crisis in Europe. So actually, no matter how enthusiastic you are in regards to energy transition and sustainability, we need to have basic needs covered first, as in Maslow matrix. And then we could ensure the access to the system from the pricing standpoint. And the next factor is its sustainability. And some of the colleagues also added such aspect as sovereignty.
So trying your best to achieve your energy sovereignty using the resources you have in the country. That is why they become your priority for further development and involvement of stakeholders to cover the energy demand within the country, and that helps a lot with the energy transition and environmental aspects of this particular pyramid of the energy. And summing up, I would like to say that the crisis, despite the fact how hard is it, helped a lot to European states to have a more pragmatic approach to resolve the issues of energy transition, and also to prioritize actions based on the hierarchy of these needs. Thank you so much, Olga. Yes, indeed, you've shared very interesting insight, because we discussed the energy trilemma as the inter-conflicting parties, but your approach is quite interesting, because the baseline is formulated by reliability, and the other things regarding the affordability and sustainability, that is nice to have, but for us the key important is to provide reliability. And that is interesting approach. We will discuss it more in the future. I would like to centralize your attention on the question or so-called issue on the sufficiency of data. Is it enough to use only the data provided by the statistical agencies? Or here we refer to the trust for the data we have. That is the things which Matthew highlighted in his report. We need to use very accurate data, reliable ones, based on your experience. How we formulate this trust of the data and analytical models. Regarding the knowledge we call acquired on the field, so when you do the analytical things, you need to have the primary intelligence. Allow the analytics not only to do their own data research, but also allow them to communicate with the industry representatives, and also to correlate their assumptions and calculations and discuss them with the real representatives of the industry. Frequently, you can use the data or look at them, but the interpretation of the data can lead to the fact that we can have the wrong results or outcomes. That is why this part should be included. The companies publish their reports, and it should be discussed through the some prism used by analytics and so on. Then they publish their resource reports or fields report. That is the point for further discussion. It is not enough, actually. We have the group of geologists who analyze the geological parameters of the deposit, and they provide their own estimations. And sometimes that is quite a nervous process, and so we need to share some negative things with our partners. But based on our critical analysis and this risk assessment, referring to the geological deposit, that is the elevated to the data which are freely accessible. That is why we improve our network and to verify our assumptions, and also the industry should be attentive to our experience and opinions regarding the data we use for their forecasts or performance indicators. Quite essential to have the second element apart from the primary intelligence is to provide the data transparency. That is one of the key elements of our data. Based on several parameters, the client can clearly see from where we've got this data, how we collected that. We have a database on all the projects on CO2 emissions. Within this topic, we have a lot of gaps from the perspective of the data published by the companies or statistical agencies. For this particular purpose, we use the satellite data, our own data, and when you open our database, you can clearly see the source of data. It could be this governmental company or our personal model or the data acquired using satellites. And I think that is the second important element which plays an important role in having the trust between our clients and us. And the third key element is the simplicity of the process. You can use one or two sentences in order to describe the complex things for people who are not the parts of the industry, to give an insight on what you do, how you do this, and so on. For instance, you can call the granny and she will ask you where you've been, what you've done, and within one or two sentences you can describe or reflect the things you do daily at the workplace to make it clear for her. And probably the last important element is the way you monitor the market, not only by providing the forecast, but for reflecting the things which played an important role into formulating of this forecast. Not all the clients are interested in the benchmarks, for instance, or the future demand on the particular products, but the things which is used for making this forecast. In other words, you need to prove what is behind this forecast in order to make it clear what kinds of tendency we'll have in the future, or up, down, or in a stagnation point, in order to reflect how you created this forecast. Thank you.
Echo a key point here. The data universe changes all the time and is constantly shifting. And if you have a particular way that you gathered the data, if the structure changes, you're no longer sampling the entire universe. And therefore, you can make very bad decisions. Let me give you an example from 1986. One of the worst decisions that was ever made was a reaction by the Saudi oil ministry to what they thought was oversupply in the world and who was responsible for it. One of the things that happened as gas penetrated into the Soviet structure was a massive release of mazout that came out into the world. And the IEA, who was the main person that was monitoring this, they had a very excellent way of monitoring crude exports. Everyone knew what Urals blend was. It had a flag on top of it, and they had a very excellent way of doing that. But they didn't monitor refined products in the same way. Once refined products showed up at Amsterdam or Rotterdam, it just became part of the general story. They didn't realize that by 1986, the Soviet Union was exporting over 1 million barrels a day of mazout. They made a decision about what they would do that basically reverberated through the oil industry for nearly a decade. I had the opportunity to talk with the minister that was responsible for that, and he called me up. He says, I understand that you have a very different way of telling me how much Russian oil is in the market. I said, yeah, you forgot about this. He says, if I had known that there was another 1 million barrels a day of Russian oil, I never would have made that decision. So, there's an example of a decision that has monumental consequences, and it's just simply a story of the data universe changing on you, or you're not capturing the full story. Another example very recently is people are talking about how much oil is being delivered to the Russian refineries. and they're pulling data from the same source, Transneft. Excellent, as long as Transneft still remains 80% of the deliveries. But if you have more crude moving outside the Transneft system, you're not capturing the data universe. And so as a result, the decision can be made on that. So always keep in mind that the data universe is always moving on you. Therefore, you can't always rely upon the way that data came to you before. You need to be aware of what's happening more broadly so that you can complement your data sources when the universe changes. Just a very commonsensical kind of thing, which I think, Olga, you were referring to.
Thank you, Matt. That was great points. Ольга, да, большое спасибо вам, да, за...
Olga, thank you very much for your contribution and very interesting and useful insights, useful for analysts. And I'd also like just to mention that it is worth saying that the EXia wouldn't be possible without having high-quality industry data, because we use a lot of sources of information, both in regards to operations and finance. And SATSTAC for energy sector of Kazakhstan is one of the best sources of ops data. And I would like to ask a rep of SATSTAC a question. What challenges have you faced while dealing with data, and how could you ensure the interaction between the state represented by the ministry and business? Good afternoon, dear colleagues, and thank you so much for your participation to this roundtable. So briefly, I'd like to say that let me brief you about the Situational and Analytical Center under the auspices of the Ministry of Energy. This is a 100% subsidiary company of the Ministry of Energy. So what we do is we collect entire set of data, starting from production up to consumption of oil and gas and electricity generation. So we possess historical data, and what we do is we collect data. But in terms of analytics, this is something that leaves much to be desired. We provide data to the analytical center, Energy Insights and Analytics to be precise, and we provide data also to the government, administration of the president, and relevant public agencies. We did, as we act within the framework of the MOUs assigned with those agencies. So we have established Energy Tech together with the Ministry of Energy. So this is a platform used for oil and gas. And it is comprised of both oil and gas and electricity generation. So in oil and gas, we run a couple of projects that have been digitized, and the first project is comprised of e-auctions that we have launched back in 2020. It is called EXia, and within this period of time, we have completed 11 auctions and 121 contracts for subsoil use were concluded in the amount of 5 billion tenge. So the next platform is a public system of subsoil management, and the system was put into operation back in 2014, and it is responsible for monitoring the license contracts, and we monitor the compliance to the contracts in regards to transportation, production and refining of crude. And in e-register, we have 1,206 users and 126 subsoil users. And as it was instructed by the Ministry of Energy, we had to digitize 3 public services. Number one is having contracts signed and concluded for contracts for hydrocarbons. Next is signing and concluding the contracts to include annexes and amendments to the contracts, as well as the consignment of right that has to do with subsoil. And we have had 5 integrations to include e-statistics merged with databases of legal entities and physical individuals and open source data. So next initiative that we're running is we have the automated system for crude production registration, and we collect data we collect data from meters at all stages, starting from production, transportation, and refining. So this is all automated. And the data that we're getting is the data coming from the meters. So actually, in order to ensure transparency of public control and taxation administration, we have intensified certification-related projects in regards to meters of all production facilities, to include oil and gas. And you know that in accordance with the subsoil use code, all of the subjects and facilities that deal with crude gas and gas condensate to have meters at the facilities. So at the moment we have 46 entities covered by the monitoring, and 67 are pending yet. They are to be included into the perimeter of monitoring. In regards to refineries, all 4 have been included out of 24. We have 9 facilities included and 15 are about to join. So in regards to oil terminals, out of 3 terminals, we have only 1 included into the monitoring system. Overall, we have, as I said, the entire set of facilities, both upstream and downstream. We have 144 facilities, and we're getting data from 42 facilities. There are 84 companies that have not been included into the monitoring perimeter. So that we have some issues, and currently all facilities are being watched. And we have identified the similar problems, such as unified approach towards registering of production, and there's some incidents to include manual one, and this may lead to falsification of production. So low level of automation. Some of our facilities are lacking the telemetry and remote transfer of data from meters. There's also a lack of access to the data, to include the bodies responsible for taxation and environmental protection. So actually this is something that we would like to have in practice, and currently we're running the negotiations with the databases under the auspices of the Committee on State Revenue. So actually perhaps this will lead to inefficient taxation administration and lack of control in subsoil use. So what we propose to do is, number 1 is to have certified meters installed at the facilities, both in oil and gas facilities, again dependent on the debit and the conditions of operations. Secondly is to establish the nodes of metering systems subject to public metrology validation, installation of the telemetry to include the temperature meters and humidity meters. Next is the objective is to automate the reports and to exclude manual input of data and having no human factor involved. So integration with other public authorities, ensuring the interagency access to data. As I said before, we need to ensure the access to the officials of the Committee of Environmental Protection and Committee of State Revenue. So, in fact, what we expect is to have the public control and monitoring to ensure the efficiency of control and supervision, as well as to avoid falsification of data to ensure transparency of subsoil use operators in real time, fiscal transparency, and precise tax data. So in regards to environmental protection, environmental monitoring, in order to avoid fluctuations or leakages, as well as to ensure the compliance digitalization at the national level, as well as to ensure informational integration between the companies and the public organizations. Next is building the trust as assurance for transparent production of fossil fuels. So actually, I made a precise report on this system, and besides, we work on digital distribution of crude, and last year this is something that we launched, and the service enables us to have the timelines of oil supply, and actually this is comprised of the entire set of actions, starting from the request all the way down to the physical delivery. So 113 active users were registered, so 2,038 requests were received, and 1,588 extracts were requested, and 11 contracts were included. So the liquefied gas system has been already put into operation, so there's a function of online tracking. There's also a digital distribution opportunities for liquid petroleum products, and there's also a system called digital contract. We have also automated all public interactions, such as having the contract concluded with the subsoil user, starting from the application all the way down to the signing. We also do have the system of distribution of petroleum products. Again, this is happening thanks to the monitoring over the meters installed at the oil stations, refineries, and so on. This is done in order to track the oil, and this is done in order to ensure the transparency of the contracts. So oil track is installed in over 3,000 facilities. So we have 118 oil distribution points, and so many refineries. Out of 33, we have 13 included. So overall, the system is being consolidated under the Energy Tech platform, which is the product of the Ministry of Energy. And this is something that we use in order to provide entire set of digital information to the state. Thank you.
Спасибо за такое подробное.
Thank you so much for such a detailed report and the information that you have provided in regards to the efforts provided by the regulator in regards to collecting data and ensuring its transparency. Within the framework of EXia platform development, we have envisaged a great potential in regards to the reserves, and without understanding of what type of reserves we have, to have forecasts provided is almost not possible, right? And it doesn't make any sense. So I would also like to remind you that the operator of data in regards to reserves is National Geological Service, and we have signed an agreement with this service. So the floor goes to you. I would like to ask you a couple of questions, Mr. Galiyev. How do you assess the current level of digitalization of geological data in Kazakhstan, and your opinion in regards to how the instructions of the president are being implemented in regards to AI in digitizing geological data? Thank you, Alhan. So good afternoon. Yes, indeed. About a year ago, when you came over to our office, you were so inspired, saying that yes, we do have the instruction of the government, Kazanergy, we want to set up the system of this kind. I was pretty skeptical back then. However, as you said, one of the key elements of the EXia was reserves-related data and in breakdown of the country and facilities. This was something that we shared with you. And 2 years passed, we see what we see. And in fact, this was said by Mr. Karabalin, what we eventually have is a very interesting product that this is something that I'm really proud of because it is made in Kazakhstan, made up by our experts. And what we have signed with you today is something that we could use for the future. We have a perfect product reflecting everything from a barrel to a bite. So actually, why can't we do the similar in regards to fossil fuel? In hydrocarbons, you have oil and gas, condensate, something else, right? There's not a vast list of minerals, right? But in regards to mining, you have a lot. We have 103. But we have to also put into consideration the water. So actually, this is going to be a very complex work, and you understand that as well. So today we have signed an agreement with you. And we're not quite colleagues. I hope, knock on the wood, that we're going to be full-fledged partners, and we're going to be exchanging the knowledge. We're going to be providing data, and you're going to be providing us with the expertise. And we will come up to a prototype. And this prototype, in case if everything goes fine, we will tackle the level of analytics that you have for oil and gas, and similar will be achieved in mining. Matthew have mentioned about it already. What is the strength of analytics, right? Analytics provides you with the right path to make a decision, not only in favor of the company, but in favor of the public institutions, in order to introduce the amendments to the legal framework. In case if we see every single gap that have to do with regulating the mining, this is going to be an absolutely normal practice. Those are the painful points of growth, and actually by doing so we could drastically change the legal framework, and we will be able to react. Whatever has to do with critical and rare earth metals, this is a very hot topic. Everyone has been discussing it, and we're missing the analytics in this regard. So therefore there's a great potential. And again, going back to your question in regards to digitalization of data, yes, indeed. We started digitizing the sector back in 2022. Again, I'm going back to primary geological data, whatever Olga was mentioning about, something that is coming from the field. This information, if law permits, we will actually finalize the digitalization. We will finish working with the paperwork, but the graphic devices is something more complex, and we will complete the work on digitizing those next year. But the major issue, okay, fine, we digitize the papers, but all we have is a scan, right? So actually, Daniela was asking a question, how to convert the scanned information into something tangible, right? And the only one solution is to use AI in order to recognize the data and to have it converted into the machine learning comfortable format. So I'd like to have a dispute with Matthew. You said that you have to be careful about the enthusiasm, and as a geologist, I'd like to say that, I was pretty skeptical. We are, accustomed to, working with models, hydrodynamic, whatever, hydrostatic. You have geophysicists, petrophysicists, contributing a lot into ensuring the high quality model, so step-by-step model. Very, very, very hard one. But I would think that you need to have a human being who will be able to reveal that, there's something wrong, going on with the model. But the more I am going in depth, what I come up with is it's not that quite the process, such process as a geological model creation could be handed over to the artificial intelligence. And there's an internal fight, maybe amongst the companies or at the global arena. So the question is, who is going to be creating the first real product that would incorporate seismics, real data, and then boom, you come up with the figures of reserves. I thought it was absolutely fantastic idea, science fiction. But then I realized that in case if you have high quality entry data, good model or a tool, then we will have something interesting. And in this regard, we don't want to be limiting ourselves at National Geological Service. We don't use AI just to recognize the data, but our objective actually, and this is a requirement of the time for the geologist to be data analyst, to be data scientist at the same time. So all of these competencies is something that we cannot imagine the future of geology. So sometime later, once this product enters the market, there's going to be a huge number of subject matter experts to be in a position to build capacity and so that we could remain relevant. This is a huge challenge for all of us. So having digitalization introduced not only into oil and gas, but also into mining is something that will be continuing together with you, with the Analytical Center. We will keep working, of course, and everybody who's going to be joining, please provide your hand of help. Don't hesitate and join. The future of the resources in Kazakhstan hasn't been discovered to its fullest, not only in mining, but also in oil and gas. There's still a future. We are at the edge of discovery, such as shale gas. For instance, shale gas has almost not been studied in Kazakhstan. So I would like to wish all of us good luck and have good discoveries in the future. Thank you so much. Thank you, Yerlan. Yes, indeed, we have listened to the opinions provided by the key experts in data analytics, but in the end, I would like to give the floor to Mr. Karabalin. As a patriarch of our industry, and I remember when you joined, when I joined Kazmunagas, you know, for junior experts, it was so important for us to listen to the summary. You know, you are a true master of having a very clear summary. So please, sir, the floor is yours. Thank you so much. I don't know how I can address your expectations, but you know, thank you so much. Talking about analytics, again, I'd like to say that this is a fundamental component of trust and transparency, and it is very, very hard to make any decision. And all of the parties concerned are interested in having good analytics to include the state, the business, and we live in the world of exponentially growing mass of technologies. But we need to use this data in order to have strategic decisions taken. And again, while discussing this topic with the subject matter experts, we have no doubts that there's going to be lots of complexities in the future, and we need to do a lot, and we need to pay our utmost attention to the statement that Mr. Sagers has mentioned about. You said that we need to have high quality entry data. And, you know, I'm talking about oil, you know, I'm not saying about anything else. Why am I saying this? This year it is going to be 126th year of production, of oil production in Kazakhstan. You know, we have immense practice. You know, we would produce in different conditions. You know, we have 207 deposits, and you know, we are supposed to be having a massive of knowledge. You know, however, your statement, Matthew, about the quality of data is something that we have to be concentrated around, you know. So actually, the data that we have on the deposits, you know, the question is, what did we have from that deposits, for instance, 10, 15 years ago, you know. So being able to have a analytics retrospectively is something that is going to lead us to have the right decision taken in the future, right? So again, amongst the other objectives, we have to take care about the digital sovereignty, being in compliance with the strategic goals. So actually, in order to have, you know, daily routine objectives, you may miss the baseline data. And again, going back to your thought, Olga, one thing is just, you know, to feed the database with information, but the next is how to have it reflected in the practice. So I think that our colleagues will need to extrapolate a lot. Again, you are using similar sources of information. However, in order to have the right decision taken, we need to have the extrapolation and actually coming up to some statistic mediana. And I'd like to mention that in this regard, while talking about the digital sovereignty, this shouldn't be in isolation from the external world. no, there has to be an assurance of being in tight cooperation with the international partners. Yes, indeed, we're going to be having our own conclusions and our own models, and only thanks to that analytical base, we will be able to work at the level of high-quality international analytical organizations. So therefore, EXia is a platform that became a very prominent step forward in this regard, and this constitutes a foundation to ensure integration of business, public sector. However, again, we have to take into account lots of technology challenges in order to maximize the incentives provided by this sector. So actually we will be able to have independent decisions, which is really something that matters, and this will contribute to independence of oil and gas and mining sector in Kazakhstan. I would like to thank the representatives of academia, governance for such a great dialogue and your interest to this work. And I have no doubts that we will convert this data into the solutions that will be good to go for our energy sector in the future. Thank you for your attention. Ozakbay Suleimanovich, thank you very much. Dear colleagues and guests, participants to the roundtable. In fact, we have listened to your blessing. And yes, indeed, I think that we will need to keep working, and we're open to continue the dialogue. And we're ready to cooperate. Thank you so much, and all the best. Thank you.
Спасибо большое.
Thank you so much.